government supporting Islamo-nationalism. What? What are you doing?
You're under arrest for assault. Why are you pushing me? You're under arrest for assault.
Public safety, you have to say you take care of the
Stay back, guys. Stay back. Hey, stay back.
Obey your oath, officer. Obey your oath. Put your hands behind your back. You're under arrest for refusing to leave, okay? Refusing to leave the wagon, Mr. Menzies.
Goodbye!
In the interest of keeping peace here and public safety, you're under arrest for breach of the peace. Take a minute.
Good.
I'm being arrested because I'm standing on the sidewalk in my city. I'm a Jew who lives in this neighborhood, and I'm being arrested because the police say that's the path of least resistance.
So, you've been made aware that you're not to attend this event, right? It's a private event?
Oh, I'm not here for the event. I'm just here for the press conference, officer.
Okay, so again, you're not allowed to enter this building because there's an event going on. It's a private event, so you can't.
And so I'm not here for the event. I don't want to disrupt anything. It's a very good cause.
Okay.
I just want to attend Chief Demkiw's press conference.
Okay, well, that would be inside that event, and you can't attend that event. Again, it's a private event, and you've been told that you're not allowed to attend it.
David Menzies for Rebel News here at the Beanfield Center, aka the Automotive Building. Everything is branded now, it seems, down at the Canadian National Exhibition Grounds in Toronto. And the reason why we popped down here, folks, is because Toronto Police Services Chief Myron Demkiw is hosting the Chief's Gala in support of victim services. And that is described as, quote, an annual fundraising celebration to support Victim Services Toronto, a volunteer organization that is essential to both victims and to the work of the Toronto Police Service. Since 2008, the Chief's Gala has raised over $5.5 million in support of Victim Services Toronto, end quote. And, well, certainly a good cause, especially in Toronto of 2024. We are having a record crime wave, so I'm sure, unfortunately, there is an uptick in the number of victims of crime. But the reason we are here is that at 6:45 till 7 o'clock, there is a press conference featuring none other than Myron Demkiw. And oh boy, do I really want to scrum him. Now, before we came here, we did RSVP with Toronto Police Corporate Communications. And get a load of this, folks. They told us we are media non grata. I'll get into that a little later on. But a few minutes ago, when my cameraman Maurizio and I came here, we walked into the building, and apparently they had a couple of police officers on the lookout for Rebel News. We were immediately stopped. It was a nice officer. He's just following orders. And, well, here's what went down.
So, you've been made aware that you're not to attend this event, right? It's a private event?
Oh, I'm not here for the event. I'm just here for the press conference, officer.
Okay, so again, you're not allowed to enter this building because there's an event going on. It's a private event, so you can't. You've been told through email.
I was dealing with someone called, I think, Stephanie Sayer.
Okay.
And I think she's confused because she said we weren't accredited. Here's my accreditations. We're with the independent press.
Yes, yeah.
And we are accredited for federal court of appeal, all the provincial courts. So I did say to her, if there's a special Toronto Police Service accreditation, I'm happy to go through that, and she never responded. So I think there's some confusion on her part. She also said all the news organizations need to follow journalistic standards and practices, and she listed them.
Okay.
And I said, we adhere to all those. And so I'm not here for the event. I don't want to disrupt anything. It's a very good cause. I just want to attend Chief Demkiw's press conference.
Okay, well, that would be inside that event, and you can't attend that event. Again, it's a private event, and you've been told that you're not allowed to attend it.
Now, again, a friendly officer, and heck, these days, it's always a win when I don't end up in handcuffs in the back of a cruiser being sent to some division downtown. So, as I alluded to, I had a conversation, with Stephanie Sayer. She's a spokeswoman for the Toronto Police Service. When I RSVP'd for the event, she said, no, don't bother. You are not going to be welcome here. I'll read verbatim her email. Quote, "We only allow journalists who work for accredited news organizations into our media gallery or at our events. Accredited news organizations publish their journalistic standards and practices, adhere to journalistic principles such as fairness and balanced reporting, and have a correction policy. For example, members of the National News Media Council, which reviews and potentially adjudicates complaints from the public about alleged violations of ethical and journalistic standards, are considered to be accredited by us, the Toronto Police Service. Here is a list of those media outlets," end quote. And, knock me down with a feather, folks. Can you imagine who's on that list? Yep, the typical mainstream media, bought and paid for, trained seals, Global, CBC, CTV, and the list goes on. In other words, all the media that are accepting money from the Justin Trudeau Liberals. But Ms. Sayer had a few other things to say. Here we go. Quote, "I hope that helps clarify things. You will not be permitted entry tonight," end quote. By the way, so many things to address here, folks. The first thing I addressed with Ms. Sayer is that all those guidelines and principles and standards that the so-called accredited media adhere to, we adhere to every single one. Furthermore, when it comes to accreditation, we are part of the Independent Press Gallery. We are accredited to go to federal courts, courts of appeal, provincial courts, and the list goes on. But this is somewhat disturbing, that the idea that the Toronto Police Service is now in the business of accrediting media? That is outrageous. And I did respond to Ms. Sayer. If you have somebody at the Toronto Police Service that is responsible for approving and accrediting media, by all means, kindly forward that contact's name to me, and I will go through the process. Guess what, folks? Radio silence. And she made good on her threat. We are not getting in the building. We couldn't even stand in the vestibule. I guess we're like so many skunks to the garden party. And it is a real shame, isn't it? Because I wanted to scrum Chief Demkiw. I wanted to ask him the questions the mainstream media will not dare ask Chief Demkiw. For example, for the past 13 months, we have witnessed pro-Hamas supporters clamoring for genocide, contrary to Section 319 of the Criminal Code. In the meantime, peaceful counter-demonstrators and members of the independent media have been arrested. Why is there such a flagrant double standard in Toronto when it comes to law enforcement?
Why is your government supporting Islamo-nationalism? What? Excuse me. What are you doing?
You're under arrest for assault. Why are you pushing me? You're under arrest for assault.
This is the King's Highway. What is going on now? We just want you to What's the problem? Public safety, you have to say Why don't you take care of it?
Stay back, guys. Stay back. Hey, stay back.
Obey your oath, officer. Obey your oath. Put your hands behind your back. You're under arrest for refusing to leave, okay? Refusing to key to the wagon, Mr. Menzies.
Goodbye!
In the interest of keeping peace here and public safety, you're under arrest for breaching the peace. Take a minute.
Good.
I'm being arrested because I'm standing on the sidewalk in my city. I'm a Jew who lives in this neighborhood, and I'm being arrested because the police say that's the path of least resistance.
Furthermore, politically, who is ordering the police to act in such a fashion? Mayor Chow, Premier Ford, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau? Also, earlier this year, Trudeau had a meeting with Chief Demkiw. Why? What was said in that meeting? After all, the chief does not answer to the Prime Minister, or are things different now? Also, Rebel News went through the Freedom of Information process to find out what was discussed at that meeting. Our FOI application was denied. Why? What was said in that meeting that the Prime Minister and Chief Demkiw want to keep secret? And finally, we understand that Toronto Police Service Inspector Jack Gurr is busily trying to censor our videos. He has reached out to YouTube to ask that our videos about Toronto Police be taken down. Why is that? Is the Toronto Police in the law enforcement business or in the censorship business? Well, you know what, folks? I guess we got our answer tonight, didn't we? They are indeed in the censorship business. They won't answer our questions when we reach out to corporate affairs, except when we RSVP and tell them we're coming to a media event. And that's when they say, buzz off, you're not welcome. And as for the two-tier policing that we continue to witness in the streets of our great Dominion, well, I guess we're just going to see it go on for month after month. We're not going to get an answer tonight. We tried with an FOI, like I said, to find out what was said. It was denied. I guess we're never going to get an answer. And this is a law enforcement disgrace. The law should be applied to everybody, but increasingly in our great Dominion, it's almost as though Hamas is calling the shots, that Sharia law is the name of the game on the mean streets of Toronto, not the law of our great Dominion. It is outrageous, and Chief Demkiw is too much of a coward to even take our questions. Chief Demkiw, high time to resign. I think you are the worst police chief in the history of Toronto, and given that Billy Blair was once a police chief, that's saying something. For Rebel News, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies. Folks, I know you love it when Rebel News brings you the other side of the story. And I can tell you what's going to happen at that press conference in there with the mainstream media. They're not going to ask Chief Demkiw the really hard questions that I wanted to ask him. Not a chance. But next time we get a chance to scrum him, you bet we will. But in any event, we do need your help. Unlike the trained SEALs in there from the media party, we don't get a nickel's worth of funding from Justin Trudeau. Please, if you can, go to rebelfieldreports.com. That's rebelfieldreports.com. And if you're able to, kindly make a donation.